There's boys out there. I was in a town before called Langan Village, it was called. And basically there was a young lad and he looked awful similar to me. I thought I was fighting in a mirror, right? Come outside the nightclub, I was like, do I know you from somewhere? And he goes, do I know you? Do you know? And he had a Celtic jersey on, but he had the green and the yellow one, right? And I was about to throw a punch. And then he looked at me in the eyes and I go, he goes, am I your father? I said to him. And he goes to me, am I your son? And we just hugged it out. Turns out that no relation at all, and I just headbutted him and he got taken away. But it goes to show you, people are out there, you could know them.
Give a shit. I've been holding with the force all night, and it ain't no federal crime. Toss me the keys to your daddy's Corvette and say just bring it back sometime. Guardians on and yes and true. It's just so plain to see. I like you better when I do bad drinking.
And we're live.
We are live. Sorry, Cypher. Good evening. Welcome to the July 29th, 2015 edition of Lock and Load Radio. Glad to see you all here with us. I'm sure there are others coming along, but we will get started with or without them. It has been a fairly interesting week in the news, and I should give credit where credit is due. That is the Roadhouse Clams. You haven't heard that for a little while, but I do happen to like that song, and it's my neighbor, so it's original music. We have permission to use it. So I see Rain Man and Bolts and Cypher and Skipper Key are in the house already, and glad to have you all. And
I forgot to send a note to somebody.
Oh well, I think you should. I think you better do that now. I think your brother from another mother. Is that who you meant?
Yes.
Yes. I almost texted him. And let's see. So, lots to talk about. Do you need to sign in? What would you need to? Oh, shut up, Cypher. No, Cypher, we do not require you to sign in to attend our public meetings. So, but we'll leave that go. We'll behave till we have all the facts. But no, we do not require you to sign in. But we're happy you're here. Applehead is in the house. Welcome, welcome. It has been, God, the weather is just hot.
Miserable.
Yeah. Although it is warming up my pool.
And it is driving my allergies nuts.
Yeah. Did you see earlier that, and I suspect Cypher on this, R. Neverdon wanted to be set as a moderator of the room. I politely declined. Yeah. So pretty sure that wasn't. Pretty sure that wasn't that person's real name. But looking at Cypher. Never done. Whoop.
Sorry about that.
Okay. Wow, am I that loud?
I don't know. Somebody in the audience is going to have to give us some feedback on that.
Okay. All right. So, how was your week? I know, right? I always have to think. What do I do?
All right, so we're in, like I said the last couple of times, we're in contract renewal at work, so it's just hell. They keep yanking the seats from my people, despite the fact that we have a contractual assignment for seats, and every other day is get out, and every other day is come back, and it's just getting ridiculous.
Sounds like you're back.
Well, the back was the interesting one. So this weekend I decided to do the fatherly thing with the next two teenagers in my house and teach them how to rotate tires. Okay. It's about time for the minivan.
What you were doing? You said change the tires, and I was like,
well, it's about time for the minivan. Yeah, the minivan was due for its oil change, and I didn't really feel like paying Jiffy Lube to do something the kids should be able to do just fine. And the kids needed to learn anyway. That was fun. Needless to say, one of the two teens can do some of the things. One of the two teens gives up too easily because that teenager thinks that if that teenager is not an expert at something, the first time that teenager does something,
It's very normal.
Yeah.
Very normal. They all do that.
and does said teenager listen to reason? No.
Ooh.
I won't out which one of the teenagers was which, but
Why, you're afraid they're listening?
no, they're not listening, but I'll respect their privacy because I haven't given them the choice of whether they listen or not and whether they get named or not on this. So
Mm.
I'll let them remain nameless for
We're a
now.
little foul-mouthed on the show occasionally anyway, so probably not a good idea. Thinking Mama might have something to say about that.
So, it was, and I did the typical father thing of got frustrated with said teenager number 2 and kicked all the kids into the house, said, fine, it's hot, it's humid, go get water, sit in the air conditioning. Daddy will take care of this on his own. Light truck tires on a minivan are not that light. And when you have a bad back from too many years at a firehouse,
Right.
well, yeah, one thing led to another. The back is currently killing me. So how was yours?
Well, I can say officially as of today, I was informed that the Second Amendment Preservation Society has kept its record intact. We are now a multi-award winning organization. We
Woo.
took third place at the Loudoun County Fair for the Salsa Verde. So we are very pleased about that, Shannon and I. And actually, we got to figure out what we're going to put in the Queen Anne's. And I think we're going to go to the Virginia State Fair this year.
Okay.
So we got to figure that out. But you too can be a member of the Second Amendment Preservation Society. All you need to do is show up when we're canning.
And be willing to help out.
And yes, you can't stand around and stare at me because I get a little bitchy if you do that. So, no.
Gee, again.
It's 7 minutes into the
not
show.
9 o'clock.
I know. Well, see, but what would you do if you couldn't boss me around? See? Anyway, so yes, so you will see on my Facebook that the award-winning salsa is on there, and it's actually quite good, as Mike Doherty and Dan Blasberg and actually John Jocelyn can attest to as well. So I'm quite pleased. I'm thinking peaches and tomatoes. That's what I'm thinking for the next fair. But I have to speak with our fearless. I forget what her title is. She's CEO.
I don't remember.
She's either CEO or executive director. I've forgotten which. And whichever one she isn't is the one that I am. But anyway, we make up titles. So you join, you get a title. You get to work and you get a title. Actually, there's usually wine involved and, there's some work. But many hands make light work. So if you want to learn to can, give me a call. Bolts, we were not able, I don't even know if Bolts is in the chat room yet.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Bolts, we were not able to log into, he remembered his computer. Life is good. But we were not able to log into Blog Talk, even though we have set up the program and everything's supposed to be going well. So we eagerly await your report. We will try again. You are here next week, yes?
As it stands right now, yes.
Okay. Because that would be the third, fourth, fifth. When you're leaving the 6th?
I do not disclose that information.
Okay. Is that because you don't disclose it or because you don't have it yet?
No, I have it, but
Okay.
I'm not going to disclose that on a public forum.
You mean you don't want to tell everybody when you're not home? I don't understand.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Okay. But you'll be here as of right now. You'll be here next Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay. If you're
As
not,
things stand today, and I will let you know if that changes.
okay. Don't know how to can, but know how to can. Rain Man, I've seen your legs. Please don't. You're going to open the door. I got to go there. By the way, I want a special shout out to Jim at Centerville Liquors for listening every week. And if he's working, we are playing in his
Putting
store.
up with Andy breaking the rules before 9 o'clock.
I am not the only one.
You're the most consistent one.
Well, because we have guests on the show. So, and by the way, Rayman found out all you have to do to be on the show is ask. Hey, I'm coming to Centerville.
Ask, commit, and show up.
Yep. So, you want to quit your day job and make artisanal pickles. Well, first of all, you should probably learn how to spell artisanal. Sorry, I used to be a teacher. It's just an occupational hazard. But if you would like to make pickles, we can make pickles. So, maybe not quit your
Listen,
job, but
pickles are easier than canning.
you can pickles.
Well, yes, I know that, but you don't have to worry about all the cooking first. You brine them.
Correct, but you still have to.
You still have to boil the jars.
Yeah, and it's not quite as easy as you think it is, because if you do it wrong, you get squishy pickles, and we don't like squishy pickles.
but alrighty then. And that's all I have to say about that.
I thought I'd open that door and see if you walked through it, but you didn't.
It's before 9 o'clock.
Okay, all right.
One of us has to respect Jim's requests.
Aw. Well, he closes the shop at 9 o'clock, but I think he's actually been listening from home on the last few weeks. But when you come through Centerville, do stop where the at the shopping center where the McDonald's is, and go in and say hi to Jim at Centerville Liquors, and buy a soda if you don't drink, buy a beer if you do, buy me a bottle of wine. Whatever. Cypher, you are a mess. It's still not how you spell artisanal. Anyway, actually, what you have there in the second spelling is not even close. But I won't put that on the air because I'll get yelled at by my producer. So, what else? I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, Lily goes to camp on Sunday. So, I miss her, but the run up to camp, I always am kind of excited for her to go, but she's gone for 5 minutes and then I miss her like crazy. So, yes, there's a McDonald's in Centerville.
Let's see. I think we discussed this tonight. There's a McDonald's, a Hardee's, and a Subway. If you want anything else for fast food, you better stop in Stevensville before you.
Well, there is Red Zone. They deliver. There's a Domino's. They deliver, and then there's Coliseum, and they actually make pretty good pizza. But
well, those aren't fast food joints.
correct.
So if you're looking for something else quick off of the highway, well, you better do it before the 5301 split.
Yeah, we gotta. Yeah, we could have gone. I don't know why I didn't think of it. We could have gone to Royal Farms. They have really good fried chicken. And Cypher, I am not answering that question. Okay, it is before 9 o'clock, and I will get yelled at. So please stop trying to get me in trouble. Good Lord. Yes,
she does
get
it well
bourbon.
enough on her own.
Yes, Rain Man, get bourbon. So we will artisan pickles. All right, that'll be fine. So if you want to come be on the show, come on. And you don't have to have something specific to talk about. Grab an article online or just come and shoot the breeze. And if you need to, you're on your way to Ocean City, or Rain Man was on his way east. We'll just leave it there. He was on his way east and stopped overnight, and we had a great time. It was a really good time. Stop it, Bolts. Stop it, Bolts. Procolinos. Actually, their pizza is okay, but not as good. I like Coliseum, but who knew that Cypher Funk knew about Chestertown's Procolinos? And actually, I'm not even sure if they're still in business. So, you see, Bolts moves to Alabama, and look at him. Now he's just like off the frickin' reservation. I don't remember what I did last weekend. Oh, we had crabs. We had John's family over on Saturday, and loads of dogs, and Molly is doing well.
Yeah, she's turning into a gangly little dog.
She is. She's very cute. We had to give up. We had a pen for her, an indoor pen. We put down a tarp and newspaper, blah, 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 blah. And in the middle of the night last night, she decided she was going to try to escape the pen and cry, which is normal, par for the course. God bless her soul. But she got hung up, and she was fine. So don't anybody oh my God, Andy's cruel to dogs. She got hung up on both her collar and her paw, like one of the little pads, like the toes or whatever, the little pads on her foot on the pen. So that was the end of the pen. We disengaged her, hosed down the tarp because it was a mess, and she's not being crate trained. So, it was a little bit of a tiring day for everybody around here, but hopefully we will, Sal is my homie. I'm assuming that's the owner of Procolinos. All right, I guess we should get into the news.
All right, we can still keep BSing if you want. That's fine.
That's fine. Where is your brother from another mother?
Don't know.
Tell him he's in trouble with me. What else? I wanted to make sure that I guess you all saw the picture of Governor Hogan with sporting his new Rick Harrison.
Condom.
Yep, the new Rick Harrison look. If you watch Pawn Stars, in those glasses, I swear that's what he looks like.
No, he still needs the mustache and goatee in order to complete it.
I don't know. You know, if you look at that picture, look at this one.
You still need the mustache and goatee.
Okay.
Otherwise, he just looks like one of the Blues Brothers without the hat.
Okay. So anyway, but he's doing very well. So okay. So that's about all for the week. And actually, the first thing I want to talk about is because I like to talk about hunting more than just about anything else on the face of this earth. And one day I will get you out there and you will go hunting.
No, you probably won't.
No?
I've never really tried it. Never really been a fan. That's just not me. Not my thing.
So if I brought you a goose, would you eat it? Like breast it out?
Probably.
Okay. So you just don't want to shoot it?
I just haven't been. That's just not something that I've been interested in.
Fun.
One of my other brothers from another mother has been trying for years to get both of the other brothers out, and both of us are just like, yeah, you know what? No.
I'll go. Tell him I'll go in your place. You tell him I will go anytime. Deer, duck, goose. Hell, I might even hit something. Anyway, you're bi-coastal. You're by something, Cypher. Anyway, sorry. Snipe, right. Yes. Applehead, yes. Yeah, so I wanted to talk about this whole thing with Cecil the lion, and shout out to Shannon for throwing this up on her Facebook in time for the show tonight. Time Magazine actually had a very interesting article that they published, I believe today, actually.
I think it was.
5 o'clock this morning. Entitled, Who's Really Responsible for the Killing of Zimbabwe's Lions and Other Wildlife? Now, this is Time Magazine, okay? First of all, they are nailing this poor guy to the wall. He booked a hunt. He has been on big game hunting before. Now, look, let me be clear. I hunt what I eat. That's me. Other people don't. It's just not my thing. So I would no more judge him for doing something legal than I would Mike for not wanting to hunt. So, you know, the problem is, the first time I heard about this, my whole thing was, I don't get it. How are you supposed to know? Like, if I went on a big game hunt to Africa, how would I know that lion coming across my path is some big beloved lion, unless the people I hired told me? I mean, I'm not from Africa.
Yeah,
I've never been. Now, granted, maybe he's been before, but it turns out, if you read the article,
which I posted to the chat room, by the way.
Thank you. But if you read the article, it turns out that there were two people that he hired, one of whom was a farmer, and
whose land the animal was shot on.
Right. And the farmer went over to the reserve, drove the lion. Is that you or me?
That's you. Mine's on silent.
Okay. Drove the lion over to the farm, or whatever you want to call it, but the farm where he was hunting, and then set this poor guy up. Here's a lion, shoot it. But this guy, who's a dentist, is being just unbelievably okay. It's Wednesday. I do a show. I love my friends, and this is a friend of mine that hunts and shoots and knows I do a show. I've done the Wednesday night show for how many years, guys? Anyway, so yeah, not quite what they have portended in the or what they portrayed. I'm sorry, this is the second time today I've done that. What they portrayed in the mainstream media, but good on Time Magazine, and then they get into the Zimbabwe policy as to why this kind of thing was allowed to happen. But frankly, if they get into it, but I would never have known that this lion that I had paid, you know, I wanted to go lion hunting and I paid $50,000 or however much it was to go do it. And the guide said, there's one, shoot it. I would have faith in the guy I spent $50,000 with, and I would shoot it.
That's why you hire people, right?
Right. But I don't want to eat lions, so I'm not going to go shoot lions.
I know a place where you can.
Really?
Yep. Actually been there.
In this
I
country?
don't know if they're still, yes. I don't know if they're still open or not.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, it's an interesting article, and frankly, I have been putting your phone. I have been putting it up in various people's feeds when they start throwing this guy under the bus, because this was not on him. This was on the African tour tracker tour, whatever. And let's just hang up somebody in the media, and somebody told me today that maybe it was you that they heard he had to shut his business down.
Yeah, there was a posting on my Facebook feed from one of my other non-2A friends, but who posted up that he closed his business today. So another businessman successfully run out of town.
Yeah, and based on what? Certainly not the facts. So anyway, now I've selectively put this article up with people who are like, "Oh, sign the petition on a look." I got 3 cats, I got 2 dogs. I love animals. Okay, I also love to eat animals. I like a good steak. John makes a great pork shoulder, but I'm not gonna advocate the mistreatment of animals, and I'm certainly not going to hang somebody up for something that really he wasn't responsible for. He paid for something, and so anyway, take a look at that article and see what you think. But basically, despite the passing, the article ends, despite the passing of harsher laws for poachers in 2011, and legal hunting in Zimbabwe is still big business. Poaching syndicates earn hundreds of thousands of dollars exporting ivory and animal skins. Many conservationists believe allowing the community to reap the benefits of wildlife management by, ironically, running the sorts of safaris on which Palmer shot his lion, so in other words, legally, will help curb illegal poaching. But it is impossible to have that debate while the world brays for the ruin of one lone Minnesotan dentist and fails to criticize a regime whose policies were responsible for the almost complete extinction of the Zimbabwean wildlife in the first place. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, I suppose. I'm just saying.
No, there's somebody who wanted to wanted me to link to an audio clip.
Okay. Mainstream media has convicted and sentenced, and you're right. Rayman says mainstream media has convicted and sentenced him already, so no need for anyone else to press charges or pick a jury. Yes. No, don't bite your tongue. It's no fun when you do that. It just hurts.
You keep talking.
I'm just wondering what the hell we're listening to.
What was requested?
I don't know what was requested. Oh no! So not good. Oh my god. Oh my god. So yeah, he's not a serial poacher. The guy did something perfectly legal, perfectly, anyway. So Okay, I assumed you meant, okay, Raymond, I'm sorry. You said mainstream MDS. I assumed you meant media. I'm not sure. I want to send that whole forum down the thing, but you know what? Go post that article or send me the thread and I'll go post it. I don't mind starting a little crap. Moving on. But yeah, Raymond, send me the thread. What?
Nothing.
What are you doing? Oh God, here we go. It's gonna be that night.
You couldn't even dispose of them.
Well, no, it wasn't exactly like they was alone. Yeah, what are you supposed to do? Kill Mufasa?
Precisely.
It's a disease. Why do I get the feeling this is gonna go on all night? All right.
You brought it up.
It's a current 2A issue. So paperwork. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Oh, AK. Oh, what is it? AK-47 left the show. Okay. Southern Rhodesia was better. Okay. I'll buy that. I have nothing to argue with. Senate Democrats partner with gun control activists. I know this is going to shock you, Mike. Partner with gun control activists amid, quote, summer of gun violence. So Senate Democrats joined with gun control activists. This was according to S.A. Miller in the Washington Times, published yesterday. Joined with gun control activists on Capitol Hill to demand tougher firearms laws in response to recent shootings in Charleston, Chattanooga, and Lafayette, which they dubbed the summer of gun violence. Is that like the summer of love? I'm just wondering. They called for the resurrection of legislation that would expand criminal background checks for gun buyers and close the so-called gun show loophole. Quote, too many guns are sold without a complete background check because of human mistakes, systemic mistakes, and loopholes. The task before us is to fix this great net we have created, or else we will continue to wake up to headlines of preventable tragedies, said Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, the number 3 Democratic leader. Mr. Schumer was joined by Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy, both of Connecticut, congressman, obviously, and activists from, I know this is going to shock you, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense, and in America and Everytown, the, of course, Bloomberg idiocy. Victims of gun violence also pleaded for tougher laws. Quote, in the days after the murder of my mother and cousins in Charleston, nothing made sense, but I've seen the power of rising for action, and I know I need to share my voice to say enough, said the Reverend Sharon Risher, whose mother Ethel Lance and cousin Susie Jackson and Tywanza Sanders were killed in the shooting last month at Emmanuel African American Episcopal Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Demanding action is why I'm here at our nation's capital today, she says, to demand a vote from Congress on background checks on all gun sales. Avoiding this issue is unconscionable. I've prayed on this issue and now I'm acting on it. It's time for our leaders to do the same.
Okay, so wait a minute.
Yes.
Let's see what I can recall about this, both what I can recall in another article that I sent you. Let's see, there would be the Charlestown issue where it's already come to light that he should have been disallowed to purchase a firearm. A, he lied on his application form, and B, the records appropriately identified that would have kept him from purchasing a firearm had he not lied on the NICS form were not ever transmitted to the NICS system. So, okay, to NICS, sorry, system's redundant there. But this is another case. In the Lafayette case, there's an article from Bearing Arms that goes into some detail on this one as well. The shooter in Lafayette, have you ever been committed? Question 11F, have you ever been committed to a mental institution? So he was committed involuntarily to a mental institution, which typically in most cases will mean that NICS will come back and deny.
Correct.
barring, there are circumstances where you could be involuntarily committed and still get your rights restored. But in most states, Maryland being one of them, if you were involuntarily committed and they actually reported the data.
Well, I think it's not like you're involuntarily admitted and therefore boom. I think there's a short period of time.
An involuntary commitment is an adjudicated process. So I mean, it has to go through. You can be involuntarily committed for a very short period of time without going to the courts. Then within, I believe in Maryland, it's 72 hours. You have to be presented in front of a court. And
we're being corrected.
On what?
He was not committed. He was evaluated.
Not according to some of the articles that were out there, but okay. There were,
link,
let's see.
2A, give me a link, will you?
But regardless, it's another one of those cases where he received the firearm appropriately. The pawn shop that he purchased it from completed. It's already in several articles.
So they did what they were supposed to do.
They did what they were supposed to do. They processed the NICS check as they were supposed to do.
And it came back clean.
And it came back. And came back in such a way that they said, here you go. So it's not a failure of the dealer. It's not a failure of the background check per se, but the background check, NICS, is much like the old discussion and the old acronym in computers, GIGO, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out. A database system is only as good as the data that's put into the system.
Right.
We have made several impassioned pleas in front of the General Assembly over the past several years to look at it and go, the 17 checks that we do are at least 4 steps redundant because we check 4 of the same databases that are actually checked as part of the NICS check.
Right.
And we don't report all of the information that the federal government has requested be reported to NICS.
Yep.
So one of the big things that we get, great, Maryland has these 17 checks. Whether you agree with them or not, whether they really do stop a lot of things appropriately or not is a discussion for another day. But okay, Maryland checks the mental health system, mental health records in the state of Maryland. Great. So while Joe Blow lives in Maryland, he can't get a firearm. But it's not reported to NICS. Right. So he decides to up and move to any other state in this country. And what's going to happen? He was involuntarily committed in the state of Maryland, mentally adjudicated, and therefore at both the state and federal level is ineligible to receive a firearm. But if he goes to another state, because we didn't bother to update the records and send that information to NICS at the state level, he could move to another state and lie on a form and receive a firearm, despite the fact that he's technically a prohibited person. That's what looks to be the case here. So I'd love to see a couple. I've seen 2 articles that say he was involuntarily committed. So,
well, we'll find out. So, and in another case, wasn't one of the cases where the gun was stolen, right? One of the was it Chattanooga, Lafayette, or what the hell was it?
Well, the Chattanooga shooter was said to have had several firearms that were legally possessed and or legally obtained, and at least I believe there was a report that at least one of them wasn't. But Newtown is the epitome of a stolen firearms case, and the guy murdered his mother to take her guns. So
Cypher, thank you for the article. According to NBC4, Washington, man killed wife hurt in Maryland church stabbing. A man was stabbed to death and his wife was seriously injured during a service at a church and a retreat center in Western Maryland on Sunday night. The suspect, 30-year-old Song Soo Kim, had been staying at the Anna Prayer Counseling Retreat Center in Urbana for 5 days prior to the stabbing. Kim's mother brought him to the retreat center, but the reason for his stay is not known. But, as Cypher says, ban the knives, because it's the same thing. The bottom line is, if somebody wants to kill people in public, it doesn't matter whether they have a gun. It doesn't matter if they have kerosene. It doesn't matter if they have a knife. They're gonna find a way. So.
All right. So circling back, just a real quick one.
Yeah.
So thank you for the article. I did just pull it up. Second paragraph, despite obvious and public signs of mental illness, most importantly, a Georgia judge's order committing him to a mental health treatment against his will as a danger to himself and others in 2008 Gentleman was able to walk into an Alabama pawn shop 6 years later and buy a 40 caliber handgun. I haven't read the rest of the article to know everything in there, but to Rain Man's comment, Rain Man asked, let's see, Mike, so they do the checks, but they don't do the reporting for Maryland. Yes, it's come up in testimony from multiple of the 2A organizations as representatives of the organizations. It's also come up by several of our more intrepid 2A supporting folks that actually went back through and did research on it and tried to pull some of the information. I don't know if we've ever had any actual evidence that they do not. There have been statements made by delegates, and there have been statements made by witnesses on the panels that have said that Maryland does not consistently report information to NICS at multiple levels, not just the mental health side, but we're not even sure that they're actually giving all of the information that they should be giving from a felony convictions perspective either.
Okay. All right. Well, want to welcome AK-47 back, and oh no, he quit again. What the heck does that mean? Like,
well, it depends. It depends on their network connection and what they're using for a client.
And
sometimes the web client doesn't work as well as it should.
I see that CAD 68M has joined us. Thank you. Welcome. Okay.
Yeah, my Jarhead brother's here too.
Hi, Jarhead brother. About time. You're late.
Well, I was like getting him the link. So.
No. He knows how to operate Facebook. He could have gotten it off your page or mine. He's a big boy in theory. Did you finish the Death Star yet? Hey, you show up late, I'm gonna get you. But
so
anyway,
Rain Man, yes, in a way, Maryland is part of the loophole problem, and we have brought that up, and I believe there have actually been some intrepid members that have actually sat at the table and used those exact words to indicate to the General Assembly just how idiotic some of these things are. And Bolts points out Maryland doesn't report misdemeanors to NICS. Even though, despite the fact that, any misdemeanor that is punishable by a sentence of greater than 2 years is a 2A prohibiting status. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Nice, Cypher. What should we do? What did Cypher say? We should call it the Frost loophole. Okay, well, I'm not going to get into that because I don't know that is the Frost loophole. But anyway, however, Cypher, you'll find this interesting, and I know several of you will, otherwise I wouldn't have brought it up. Alan Dershowitz, this is according to Breitbart.
God, every time I hear that name, I think of something completely different to pronounce it for.
Dershowitz? Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah,
I'm staying above board.
Published yesterday in Breitbart by A.W.R. Hawkins. Alan Dershowitz, Second Amendment, an absurd thing in our Constitution. During a recent appearance on Newsmax TV, Harvard professor emeritus Alan Dershowitz said the Second Amendment is an absurd thing in our Constitution, and that our framework needs to be adjusted to quote to create a presumption against ownership instead of a presumption in favor of gun ownership. Now, I don't understand how he can come up with that.
So which other of our creator given rights are anachronisms and need to be written out?
We tried an experiment for the last, this is what he said, for the last 250 years, and it's failed miserably. And we have a new approach. The new approach has to be guns should not be available to people generally, even if they have significant need. I guess you're going to ban kerosene and knives next. If I could write the Bill of Rights over again, I would skip amendment number 2. We're the only country in the world that puts that in our Constitution, the right to bear arms. It's an absurd thing to be in our Constitution, but it's in our Constitution. We have to live with it. Well, no kidding.
If you don't like it, there's a process.
He then referenced the attack that killed 2 people in Lafayette, saying that guns have to be well regulated, and they are not well regulated in this country. We are going to have these kinds of massacres over and over again until we change the gun culture, and the Rifle Association is part of the problem, not part of the solution. Really, Dershowitz, when was the last time you paid attention to what anything the NRA had to say? Dershowitz contends that if you want a gun, you should have to go to the police or other authorities. He added, what is needed is some very tough legislation on the federal and state level to make much harder to get guns and to create a presumption against gun ownership instead of a presumption in favor of gun ownership, consistent with the well-regulated militia language of the Second Amendment. Apparently, that man does not understand what a comma is for. Sorry.
Hey, our constitutional law professor sitting on Pennsylvania Avenue can't understand it either. So,
For heaven's sakes, it was one of the first things my father taught me about the Constitution. Much would happen. Okay, yeah, you should go because what stuff I've got is local. You've got Fed. I've got.
So
local.
yeah, let's see. This one was one. Dan actually posted it up to us through other communications means. After I'd already seen
Where
it.
the heck is he tonight?
I have no idea. But we apparently have a new group to keep our eyes on for people doing funded studies. Apparently, Mount St. Mary's University did a funded study based upon the shootings in Lafayette and other places that basically, again, kind of like this reminds me, I'm not going to read the whole article on this one, but it reminds me, it was one that was posted on Facebook. If you find some of the links about the Mount St. Mary's University study done in Prince George's County, if I remember correctly, where they showed the they used the Prince George's County police training facilities shoot simulator, and they watched police officers as they responded after they've been trained to do, and then they watched people, who these 77 people were, what their qualifications were, what their backgrounds were, what their firearms education status was, whether they were carry permit holders, whether they have ever done any defensive handgun training or not. I don't remember seeing anything in the article. I have not read the study. But the video that they showed basically just showed the cop reacting and shooting within a split second of a perpetrator pulling a gun out of his waistband, and a rather dour woman who just kept the pistol by her side and let the person shoot her. So this reminds me of I think it was right after Newtown, the national news networks that did the send a police officer in as a trained tactics person into a room and had a concealed carry somebody who had concealed carry training or personal defense training sitting in a room full of people in a supposed college classroom.
Oh, yeah.
And showed them all getting shot, which when you actually broke down what they were doing, there was one instance where the guy got the drop on the intruder, quote unquote, and took him out, or would have taken him out if they'd been using anything real, obviously. But he had moved. He wasn't sitting in the seat he had been assigned to. So it very, very quickly became a questionable thing of, okay, so did you set this up? You said he's going to be sitting in row number 2, center seat, or whatever seat they happen to be in, because every video that you saw before that one, the police officer intruder came in and shot at the same point every time.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, you got told where you were going, and they're wearing stuff. They're wearing extra large clothing and things that get in the way, anything they can to slow them down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a realistic case. It wasn't you didn't let the person who was supposedly concealed carrying come in carrying what they've trained with, equipment in their own holster, cover clothing like they would normally wear.
Right.
You've got them in stuff that's going to trip them up and other things. This Mount St. Mary's one at first glance looks like it's probably the same way.
Well, and I'd like to know where they got the funding for that, because if they're taking tuition dollars to fund that study, yeah. So, and Mount St. Mary's, that's the one in Western Maryland, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, because St. Mary's is the one that Shannon went to. Okay. right?
Yes, located out in Emmitsburg.
Emmitsburg.
Second, is the nation's second oldest Catholic university.
Okay. So in other news, maybe let me check the chat room. These scenarios are well known to police who train them on them every year for years. Yep, Cypher, remind me to call you and torment you. According to The Hill, published, doesn't have a publication date. Hold on. Recently. An article by, it was published yesterday, by Ben Camisar, titled O'Malley Calls for Comprehensive Gun Safety Laws.
Oh,
I know you all are going to feel so much better when I read this to you, or when I tell you about it, actually. Quote, during the first 204 days of 2015, there have been 204 mass shootings, a mass shooting for every day of the year. These tragedies aren't isolated events or even accidents, as some have called them. They're part of a full-blown epidemic, he wrote in an op-ed piece of the Boston Globe, published Friday, one day after a gunman killed 2 people in a Louisiana movie theater. We cannot let this become the new normal. We mourn for the lives cut short, for the victims and the loved ones they leave behind. We can't just sit by and wait for another tragedy to happen again. So he, I'm scrolling down. Our goal in Maryland, as it should be for the nation, was to reduce mass shootings and keep guns out of the hands of criminals. How'd that work out for you in Baltimore City, Marty?
let's see.
Yeah.
I believe with today, the numbers should be at a match for what they were for May.
Yep.
For shooting homicides.
That's what I heard, yeah. And I heard that before you arrived. Gun rights supporters in Congress and the NRA have lobbied against similar efforts, saying the policies restrict the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. Bills to expand background checks and ban the sale of certain assault weapons couldn't overcome a Senate filibuster in 2013. Woohoo! Months after a gunman killed 20 elementary school students and 6 adults in Connecticut. Bobby Jindal, a Republican presidential candidate, pushed back at calls to immediately address gun control in the wake of the shooting in his state. We are less than 24 hours out. We've got 2 families that need to bury their loved ones. We've got families waiting for their loved ones to leave the hospital, and we are praying for their recovery. And he said there will be an absolute appropriate time for us to talk about policies and politics, and I'm sure that folks will want to score political points of this tragedy, as they've tried to do on previous tragedies. So, and that's typical Martin O'Malley behavior. We've seen it, we know it, and we try not to make ourselves sick over it. So, yeah. So Bolts is back. Good. Yes, Baltimore always overachieving. Yes. I don't know what Cypher's saying there, but okay. Yeah. So the Baltimore Sun did I believe at the state level, it's called a PIA, a public information request. And for all of the emails, and paperwork, related to the riots in Baltimore. And then an article published in the Baltimore Sun yesterday morning. The mayor wanted to lift the curfew put in place after rioting broke out in Baltimore, but faced opposition from the governor, according to an email released Monday. In the emails between the chief of staff for the mayor and the leader of the downtown business group, Parthamos, says the mayor wanted the curfew lifted on Saturday. Hogan was adamantly against it, Parthamos wrote, according to an email obtained by the Baltimore Sun in a public records request. The city released thousands of emails on Monday. Mayor will lift tomorrow, Sunday, after security briefing tomorrow, if intel indicates all is good, Parthamos wrote in a late night email. I'm just trying to figure out. Parthamos is the mayoral chief of staff. I'm sorry, her name is Calliope Parthamos. So Stephanie Rawlings Blake's chief of staff. She wanted to tonight, but for security reasons could not. What was long discussion with city and state partners. The curfew, which barred people from being on the street between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. was ultimately lifted on Sunday. Doug Mayer, a spokesman for Hogan, confirmed that account and Parthimus's email was accurate. Throughout the unrest, Governor Hogan's main priority was the safety of the citizens of Baltimore, Mayer said. The curfew had proven effective, and the governor saw no reason to lift it prematurely, and good on him. That'd be my 2 cents worth on that. I don't know why she'd be in a hurry, particularly on a Saturday night. Why would you want to lift the curfew on a
Politics.
Saturday? Yeah. Well,
You have a curfew that is affecting your citizens and people that are going to vote or that you want to vote for you in your reelection.
you and I were watching
Oh, no,
this. They
I'm
were
not-
all
I'm-
on TV.
I'm
They
not-
were all in the street anyway.
I'm not saying that. Yeah, exactly, because there was no real significant enforcement unless they broke certain lines. If they came across certain places,
Right.
they still didn't really effectively do anything.
Right.
So-
Get off the street, but you can be on the street. Okay. And another interesting news related to Baltimore, and I sort of did I have a last piece, but it's actually related to the Veterans Administration and not Maryland. But let me do this. Ian Duncan wrote 2 days ago for the Baltimore Sun, officials combed social media for information as violence flared. Apparently they compiled the city officials, doesn't really say who, compiled a spreadsheet listing the suspicious Twitter and other social media postings from the day rioting broke out on April 27th. Newly released documents show information circulating on social media claiming high school students would take place in a purge or period of lawlessness helped fuel tensions ahead of that Monday's violence, and documents show that someone in the city government continued to keep a close eye on people's internet postings. The document lists 71 posts described as either threats or chatter. It's not clear why the posts were included on the list, who added them to the list, or how the information was used. But the reason some posts include information that they believed was inciting violence against police officers. Next to one Twitter message, the document notes the use of a gun emoji pointing at a policeman emoji. An Instagram picture of a news article about police saying gangs had teamed up to attack officers, posted with an approving comment, was also flagged. So, wow, okay. So there was a picture of a news article with an approving comment. Wow, okay. But the reason why others were tracked is less obvious. One post includes a link to a quick medical procedures for protesters. For example, in a, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just going to drink.
Okay. Okay, quick letter. Yeah. For example, but in a column on the spreadsheet for violation, the description rebellion is given. Why? Because of quick medical procedures? Okie dokie. Some people appear to have been singled out, to have singled out one officer in particular. A number of postings on the list link images showing a purported Facebook message in which the female officer called protesters animals. Another post includes what claims to be the officer's contact information. Very nice. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens as a result of that information. And believe me, as a social media maven, as you were, as it were, I will be keeping an eye on this. And then, Rain Man, going back to O'Malley, National Gun Registry. He'd love nothing more than to have all guns registered. But, he'll call it voluntary, but you can't buy one unless you register it. Trying to catch up on any stuff. Okay. Okay. Running on empty. Be right back. I guess he ran out. I think he ran out of bourbon. Oh, rum is empty. Rum is empty.
Curfew violators are waiting days to see a commissioner.
Is your microphone on?
So, I mean, you got 2A in Maryland. The at the time, the agitators were saying the curfew was illegal. Okay, the same thing that happens with just about everything else. Fight it in court. It's never really wise to fight police officers' commands when they're making them. And curfew violators are waiting days to see the commissioner. And kind of funny how even when
Hold on. I love you, but I'm literally on the air, and it's Wednesday night, and they're all listening, and so.
Well, actually, I muted your microphone.
I can put you on speakerphone, and you can say hello to your friends, or I can call you back later. Bye, honey. I won't say who that was.
A dear friend of ours.
A dear friend of ours who used to be in the legislature.
So,
and she's a dear friend of the community.
So yeah, the funny thing was, yes, they may have waited time to see things, and we can argue and debate about how long they can be reasonably held and everything else. That's a call that the courts would have to go back and look at. The reality of what ended up being is that I think the vast majority of anybody that was held on curfew violations was released with either no charges or no processed on the charges. The last one that I had.
Yeah. Okay.
Lovely title from, let's see, this is from the Washington Times. I happened to see it today. It's actually from today. The title of the article, American, deemed a problematic word by the University of New Hampshire. The reason I posted it up was just that let's see, the University of New Hampshire apparently has a bias-free language guide and a list of problematic words. And some of the names on this list, some of the words on this list: American, because we're not the only country in the continents of North and South America, supposedly. That's why they put it in there. But it joins such illustrious companions as illegal alien, mothering, fathering, and a collection of words that are, quote, frowned upon by the university. Political correctness run amok. We have to be careful about what words we use. Oh, this was one. The lovely comment. So it's apparently a quote from the guide. The last part of the article from the Washington Times begins, quote, microaggressions hold a lot of power, and especially because of their frequency in our culture. They may appear subtle and harmless,
like
but we must address them.
This is like Thug.
If we wish to consider ourselves a truly civil society.
This is like Thug, right? That's micro racism, microaggression.
The guide says, suggesting students try to use, quote, micro affirmations, end quote, instead.
Oh my God, I think I might have to be sick. Jeez. And we're gonna have to make a concerted effort to end on a positive note, but I can't do that this week. The Washington Times reported yesterday in an article by Jacqueline Klimas, Klimas, Virginia psychiatrist tells Facebook user to off yourself. A Veterans Affairs psychiatrist allegedly told an online user to off yourself over a stance on gun control in a Facebook comment thread, according to an image shared online. I'm all for gun control, the user wrote. If there's a gun in the room, I want to be in control of it. I kind of think that's a good idea. Greg Gorton, whose Facebook profile identifies him as a staff psychiatrist for the Philadelphia Veterans Medical Center, replied, off yourself, please. The VA apologized to all veterans and their families for the Facebook post, which they called completely unacceptable. Our mission is to provide the highest level of medical and mental health care, which is not reflected in that Facebook post. The VA spokesman told the Washington Times it was totally inappropriate and does not convey our commitment to veterans. We are taking steps to immediately address this situation. As far as I'm concerned, if you are a doctor and you are a psychiatrist and you are telling someone to off yourself and you work on my tax dollars, the taking steps means you fired him. Okay. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Government employee.
Yeah, I know. So, spit pickle. I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know if I want to know what they're talking about. Cecil growls. That is it. Short show this week.
Yeah.
So, thankfully, not too much.
So DeMarco is.
I didn't get that from what he said, but I don't know.
So I don't know that we
debate
can
whether DeMarco supports Pelosi or not, and that's what the debate in the chat room is right now. I don't I didn't get that from what I saw, but I don't know. I don't know. So, yeah. Yes, and Gyro, I agree. They really do need to fire the Virginia psychiatrist. So, yeah.
So apparently, Cypher was asking us in the boards, and since we've done this for others, there's a Mag 40 class. That's if I remember correctly, that's Masad Ayub's training group. August 6th through 9th in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. There is a thread on shooters about it. So if anybody wants to go look and see.
Okay.
And Rain Man, go ahead and post it up to the boards, or send it to either Andy or I in a private message through the client. We can read whatever it is you have that's positive. Well,
He's positive. He has a full glass rum.
Nope. His positive note: his youngest daughter got married on Sunday. So congratulations!
Nice. Yay, Rain Man! Oh, that's very
I hope the young
sweet.
man is a welcome addition to your family. I would assume so, because you're saying it's a positive note. So always a good thing.
Yeah.
Congratulations to your daughter and her new husband.
And you survived. You survived the wedding planning, and it was your daughter. So good.
I was gonna say I have two of them. I fortunately hopefully have at least 10 years to wait for the first one. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
And then Applehead's posting up. There is
Yeah.
an HPRB meeting next Tuesday, August 4th.
But I
It
don't
is
know where
at-
that's going to be.
Right now, at the last, so technically they're supposed to announce the meeting location 10 days prior. So I think we're all operating under the assumption that it's at the Department of Public Safety and Corrections facility on Reisterstown Road,
No.
where it was the last time, in a
Oh.
lovely neighborhood in off of Reisterstown Road, to be in the dark evening hours. So you're going to get there. Well, actually, this time of year it's still light, usually before and after the meeting, but. If anybody is planning on going, I know there is a thread on shooters about it for coordination for anybody that wants to go and keep the sunshine on the process. Please keep in mind, we do have some new members on that board.
6776 Reisterstown Road.
So we do have some new members on the board that are more open. They're still learning their way around the process. I know it kind of goes without saying for our community, but treat everybody professionally and act the way we want to be seen. Just
imagine you're being videotaped.
So there's only one truly hostile person to our agenda left on the board. And we don't know how much longer the current chairman will decide to stay in his post. Technically, his term is up next year, so he has until next year to stick around if he wants to do so. One of the other holdouts from the last administration resigned his post, has not been replaced that we know of to date. So there are 3 actively appointed by Hogan members on that board. There is 1 vacancy that remains to be filled. So
yeah, and there's a lot of chatter about what's going on, and I'm not going to conjecture until I know. My phone number, 410-490-2734. The Applehead's asking for my phone number. Safer writes in the chat room, those who have been determined by HPRB to have good and substantial are prohibited by the chairman from carrying. I don't really understand how that could be.
I don't understand either, because it's a vote system.
Right. They operate under Robert's rules, and I don't really know. So, but I know Cypher and I had a discussion earlier today, and I'm not ready to comment on it publicly until we get some confirmation of a few other things. But yeah, it's some very strange things.
But if they're following Robert's rules and there's only 1 vote against them on the board, then that's a very questionable activity. So
yeah. So yeah.
And if that were to particularly happen, and we were, and the folks were certain that is what the case is, or they've gone after the records for their individual votes, and I would hope that they have decided to retain legal counsel and take that to the circuit courts.
Yeah. So,
Not a lawyer, but that would be my recommendation.
IANAL. I am not a lawyer.
And I didn't sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night.
But you stayed at we'll leave the light on, Motel 6.
Nope.
I was just kidding. Okay. All right. I think that's all I got.
Yep, I didn't have anything else. I'm just taking a look through the Bodymore 2015 edition thread on Shooters.
Bodymore?
Yes, that's the name of the title. It's the I have mine set to the maximum
Baltimore.
number of replies. It is currently over 1,500 replies to the
Good
thread,
day.
tracking the violence and homicide rates in the city of Baltimore. So, yeah, let's see. At 8:52. There was a posting somebody put of the tweets that are going on that there was a shooting at 1900 Holland Street at
Tonight?
at about 8 o'clock. Somebody reported to be shot in the back. Male reported to be shot in the head on Annapolis Road at 8 o'clock. So depending, I think we're at, one person has said in that thread that we're at 42 confirmed firearms deaths in the city of Baltimore for the month of July. And I think the record is
And the month ain't over yet.
40. It's either 43 or 44 from August of 1972. So yep, that HQL, it's working just like it should.
Yeah, it's working out real well.
And that new acting commissioner, he's working out like gangbusters.
Two notes. Rayman's daughter married a full-time National Guardsman. You'll have to thank him for his service for us. And Bolts, one of the ringtones on your cordless is the Ride of the Valkyries. I must tell you, and you may have brought this up because you remember this, but when I worked for Michael, that was his ringtone. Yeah, so I figured, it was always a wild ride, and that seemed like the appropriate ringtone for Mike Smeagol. E.J. Pipkin's ringtone was the theme to in the Indiana Jones movies. Do 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 do
Okay.
do do do, and he said, E.J. he just said, why? I said, E.J., because life with you is always an adventure. You never know when you wake up in the morning, especially during campaign season or legislative session. You never know in the morning what you're going to be doing or where you're going to end up, but you always end up a better person for having taken the ride. So anyway, this is just a funny story. I just want to roll through and make sure. Okay, that's it. All right. Same time, same station next Wednesday, I think.
Like I said, as far as I know.
Okay. All right. We will. Do you have something to go out on?
Oh, let's see what I can find. I
Alright.
can always go back to the good fallbacks of the Monkeys.
Yeah, and if you want to bring alcohol and come can with us and have a good time, let me know, and I will be sure to. I will be absolutely sure to include you. I think we're doing it here because we got to do Queen Anne's County next. So I just don't know when. I have to talk to the
That's
executive director.
when was that one? I don't remember. We looked it up.
Oh
before.
no,
I don't
it's the
remember
10th to the 15th
of.
August. You won't be here
Shh.
for part of that. Well,
Well, I will pick on our executive director or whatever her title is.
I think we're going with executive director. I think that's what we went with. I can't remember because basically, she's got the brains. I do logistics really well. She's got the brains. Logistics party at Andy's house, sure, absolutely, but you got to work. I got peaches that need to be peeled and tomato sauce that needs to be made. All right. So if you're interested, 410-490-2734, or you can grab me on Facebook and Cypher. I know you have my phone number, so you have really no excuse for not showing up. But anybody else that's interested, come on. And
There's an interesting comment.
what's-
CAD68MM. Just for fun, I wrote the ACLU about the HQL being unfair to the inner city poor. They wrote back, said, sorry, we can't help, and referred me to the NRA with full contact info.
Very interesting.
Pick and choose which one of those rights, those civil liberties, we're going to protect.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. Okay. So what do you got? Take us out of here. I've stalled. I've pedaled.
Well,
I've
for some
pedaled.
reason it's not going to go, so we got to reopen it again.
Okay. All right. So
No, that's okay. It's coming.
Okay.
Hammers back and the safety's on, safety's on, safety's on.
Since she
Hammers
won a
back and the
ribbon.
Safety's on unless it's
She,
the clock.
we.
I know, but she posted it because she went and picked it up.
She did. She was responsible.
And this
for-
is about the best description I have for a canning event.
Here we come, walk down the street, get funny as fun.
Good night, all.
Good night, everybody.
We meet. Hey, hey, we're the monkeys, and people say we monkey around, but we're too busy singing to put anybody down.